Chase Whitmore hadn't spoken a word since he was 4 years old. Not a whisper, not a laugh, not even a cry. Just silence, clinical and unnerving. His father, Grant Whitmore, the reclusive aerospace billionaire who owned half the Mojave Desert and more satellites than NASA, hired every specialist money could buy. Therapists, neurologists, psychic mediums. One even tried a past life regression session. Nothing worked. Chase just stared through people like he was watching something on the other side of them, something they couldn't see. Until her name was Meredith, mid-30s, nobody special at least. That's what the Whitmore family assumed. When the agency sent her, no Harvard degree, no posh accent, just a woman with a quiet strength in her eyes and a resume full of children who had stopped screaming in the middle of the night. Meredith didn't ask for access to the east wing of the estate. She didn't ask why there were no mirrors in Chase's room. She just moved in, unpacked a single photograph she never explained, and began to wait. What happened next? You're not going to believe. Because what you're seeing now isn't in the official records. This footage, this account, it's not meant for public eyes. It was scraped from a corrupted security drive buried inside the server room beneath the Whitmore estate. Most of the files were damaged beyond repair. But one survived. A 10-minute clip dated December 19th. A storm was raging outside. The house cameras had been glitching for hours. And somewhere, just after midnight, Meredith is seen kneeling beside Chase's bed, whispering something no mic could pick up. 3 seconds later, Chase sat up. And for the first time in 11 years, he spoke. Not a phrase, not a name, a scream, a name, but not his. He screamed Aaron. Here's where it gets worse. There's no record of anyone named Aaron in the Whitmore family. No past employee, no school teacher, no childhood friend. And yet, the moment that name left his lips, every light in the room blew out. The footage pixelates, there's a sound faint, at first, like static crawling through bone. Then louder, like someone dragging chains across the ceiling, and then, Meredith is gone, vanished. Frame to frame. 1 second she's holding Chase's hand, the next nothing. No exit, no shadow, no trace. The police report says she left voluntarily. But Chase hasn't said a word since, except once. 6 days later, during a therapy session no one was supposed to record, he looked straight into the camera and whispered, she remembered. That was the last time anyone saw Chase Whitmore outside the estate. And the question none of them dared to ask, the one that's been sealed in NDA vaults and erased from press archives, is not who Aaron was, but how Chase knew her name before she was even born. You still think this is just a story? Then look closely at the next frame. There's something in his eyes you were never meant to see. The moment Chase said her name, Aaron, the screen tore. It wasn't a jump cut or a glitch. It was something deeper, like the footage itself flinched. If you blinked, you'd miss it. A thin black line crawling from the bottom left corner of the frame, bending like film melting under heat, only for a fraction of a second, but enough to make you question what you were really seeing. That clip, the one everyone swears they saw, it's not there anymore. Re-uploaded files don't match. Timecodes don't align. A copy posted to a private forensic server by a technician in New Mexico was found corrupted, audio stripped, metadata overwritten. The file title had changed to a string of numbers no one could explain. And worst of all, Chase's scream, the one that carried her name, was replaced with something else. A whisper, a layered, almost fetal whisper that didn't come from his mouth. Something behind the mic. Close. Intimate asterisk, don't let her in. But there was no her asterisk on screen anymore. Meredith had vanished. And just like that, the question stopped being about Chase. It became about us. The first time anyone heard from Chase again was 17 months later. A voicemail, left on a disconnected phone that belonged to a retired nurse in Ohio. Audio is only 22 seconds long. He sounds older, drained, like he hadn't spoken to another human in weeks. His words are disjointed, but there's something desperate buried in them. Greater than I don't remember her face, but she knew mine. Every time I sleep, it's like she replaces something, a memory, a detail. I think I'm wrong about what happened. I think maybe it was me. Maybe the tape ends there. Mid-thought, like his own voice had been swallowed. Nurse who received the message had no connection to the Whitmore family, or so it was assumed. But her name, Elaine Shepard, matches a staff record from the Whitmore estate dating back to 1989. She was listed as a sleep technician, hired briefly after Grant's first wife, Carolyn, suffered what was reported as a postnatal breakdown. Only Carolyn didn't have Chase until 4 years later, and Elaine was reported dead in 1992, a boating accident off the coast of Maine, except she answered the phone and said it was a wrong number. I met Sarah Quinn on the second Tuesday in March. She was standing outside the back entrance of the Psychiatric Institute where Chase had supposedly been held for evaluation following the incident. The sun was setting behind her, but she didn't flinch, just smoked half a cigarette and looked at me like she already knew why I'd come. Her hair was wild, Her jacket torn near the collar like she'd been in a fight or just didn't care to repair it. She claimed to be Meredith's sister, but no one could verify she even existed. Everyone asks where she went. She said, taking a final drag before flicking the filter into the gutter. They never ask when. Her words hit like a tremor. Sarah said she'd been getting packages, unmarked manila envelopes, postmarked from cities she'd never been to, each one containing fragments photographs of Chase at ages he shouldn't have been, therapy logs dated before he was born, a baby monitor recording that played a woman's voice repeating, "He already knows." One envelope contained a single Polaroid of Meredith standing beside a child that wasn't Chase, in front of a house that no one could identify. Written in marker on the back, * memory is a room without doors. She found the window. * Sarah didn't ask for help. She didn't want exposure. She just wanted it to stop. And then she handed me the last piece she had left, a flash drive. No label, no metadata. What's on it is difficult to explain. It starts normal enough. A video, timestamped July 2nd, 3:04 a.m. Chase is alone in his room. He's older now, early teens, sitting cross-legged in the corner, eyes fixed on a blank wall. He's humming, a low rhythmic hum that doesn't match any known lullaby. Then, a shift. The camera angle shakes, almost like someone behind the camera moved, but there's no one else in the room. And then the audio warps. In the background, faintly, someone says, * tell her, * the phrase repeats 4 times, each one closer, each one less human. Chase doesn't react. Until suddenly he looks directly at the lens and says, "You've already seen this, haven't you?" That's when I shut it off. It's at this point in most stories you expect an explanation. Childhood, trauma, schizophrenic delusion, technological hoax. Something to tether the madness to logic. But the further I go, the more that safety net dissolves. The therapy logs retrieved from the estate were inconsistent entries, signed by doctors who were never licensed. Some sessions end with different handwriting than they began. One record suggests Chase was allergic to lithium. Another claims it was part of his daily regimen. In one, he's terrified of water. In the next, he asks to go swimming. And then there's the most damning piece. A letter allegedly written by Meredith herself, found burned at the edges in a vent behind the East Wing nursery. Most of it's illegible, but a few lines remain. Greater than, "I don't think I'm real anymore." Greater than, "Every night I remember things I never lived." And Chase says he sees me in places I haven't been, or haven't yet. Was Meredith real? Was she ever real? Or was she a symptom of something the Whitmore family never wanted to confront? Or worse, a mechanism, a door? 2 weeks ago, I received an email from a blocked sender. The subject line read, *Whitmore sequence, _06, *. Inside was an audio file, exactly 66 seconds long. The waveform looks normal until the 34-second mark. That's when the voice of a young child breaks through, panicked, breathing hard, whispering something that took 4 days to decipher, under noise reduction filters. She said she was my mother. But she had no face. The voice isn't Chase's, and here's the part that keeps me awake. Background noise in the final 5 seconds, distorted, almost coded reels, a tone pattern matching a 1980s emergency broadcast system test, a tone that hasn't been used in 40 years. No one knows why, unless it was a message from her. Now ask yourself, have you ever forgotten someone so deeply that even when they're standing right in front of you, something inside refuses to recognize them? That feeling, that splinter in your memory, that's not by accident. That's by design. And Chase. He never stopped seeing her, not once. Not even when they sedated him. Not when they moved him from the estate. Not even when they wiped his records from the system. He remembered the last known image of him, if it's realist, from a traffic cam in Connecticut. 3 weeks ago. He's not alone. A woman is walking beside him, face obscured, same build as Meredith, or Erin, or whoever the hell she was. But the strangest thing, the license plate on the passing car in the footage, it reads, Room 0, and the car isn't in any DMV database. Not state, not federal, nowhere. And the thing waiting in the dark, still calling your name, even if you don't remember hers. The house in Vermont wasn't listed on any map. No Zillow record. No sale history. Just coordinates scribbled on the edge of an old therapy file. Like an afterthought, or a dare. I followed it because I needed the ending. Needed to close the loop. I told myself it was about Chase, about understanding what happened. Finding Meredith, maybe even figuring out who Erin was. But in truth, I just wanted to believe there was a reason. That what I'd seen, what I'd heard, hadn't just been the slow disintegration of someone else's mind. Or worse, mind. It looked ordinary at first. A modest 2-story colonial set back against skeletal trees, a graveled driveway cracking under frost. The kind of house you'd pass 100 times on a road trip and never think twice about. But there was something wrong with the quiet. It wasn't peaceful, it was held like the air itself was waiting. I stood at the edge of the porch too long, unsure why my feet refused to cross the threshold. Then the wind changed. A sharp gust cut through the woods, and for one impossible second, I smelled salt. Not just sea air. Her perfume, clean linen, vanilla, and the faintest trace of firewood. Meredith. Inside. The house was still staged like someone had been living there. A book open on the armrest. Plates in the sink. Even the heat was on, but everything was too still. Not frozen, untouched, and then I saw it, on the far wall of the living room, behind a layer of dust, framed and slightly crooked, a photograph, grainy, slightly overexposed. A boy standing in front of a small pond, a woman beside him smiling, hand on his shoulder. But it wasn't Chase, and it wasn't Meredith. It was me. I stared at the image for a full minute before realizing the boy in the photograph was wearing the same jacket I'd packed in my trunk. The same one I hadn't worn in years. The same one I almost didn't bring. I touched the frame like it might vanish, like the glass might turn to water and swallow my reflection. But it didn't. It stayed. Solid. Proof. Of something. That's when I heard the stairs creak. I spun. But there was no one there. The house remained silent. So I did what no rational person should. I followed the sound. Upstairs. The hallway was narrow and dim, the wallpaper peeling in long brittle strips like the skin of an old secret. I moved slowly, footsteps muffled by thick carpet. At the end of the hall, a door sat open. Inside, an office. Sparse. One desk, a corkboard, an old reel-to-reel recorder. Dozens of cassette tapes stacked beside it. No labels, just numbers. I don't remember sitting down. I don't remember choosing a tape. But at some point, the machine clicked to life. And a voice, my voice, began to speak. Greater than day 16. He remembers more than he should. I thought the regressions would keep the edges soft, but he's seeing faces now. Not mine. Hers. Every time she shows up, the room gets colder. I think she knows I'm recording this. I think. The tape cut out. A sharp pop of static. Then silence. No record exists of me ever being in therapy. No degree. No certificate. And yet, the office walls were lined with credentials bearing my name. A framed news clipping from 2003. Dr. Whitmer solves DK cold case with memory looping. A photograph of me shaking hands with a senator I've never met. It all looked real, felt real. But none of it had ever happened. And in that moment, I understood. I hadn't come to Vermont to solve their story. I'd come to remember mine. The first memory hit like a seizure. A hallway, fluorescent lights, blood in the seams of white tiles, a woman screaming, not in pain, in fear, pleading, and then, a child's voice. Is she my mom? And my voice, answering, she doesn't exist anymore. That night, I didn't sleep. I couldn't. The house groaned around me like it was breathing. I began checking every corner, every drawer, flipping light switches twice, 3 times convinced I'd missed something. That's when I found the mirror, tucked in the back of a linen closet, small, oval, filthy. It wasn't the mirror itself that stopped. MIT was the post-it note stuck to the back. Faded handwriting in ink, the color of dried wine, greater than look after dark. I waited until midnight, closed every curtain, sat on the floor in front of it, and turned off the light. At first nothing. Just shadow and breath and the faint sound of branches scratching glass. Then, slowly, the mirror changed. It didn't reflect the room behind me, or even my own face. It showed a corridor, endless, flickering, familiar. The Whitmore estate, only it wasn't empty. A figure was standing at the far end, small head cocked, watching. It took several long, paralyzed seconds before I understood what I was seeing. It was Chase. But younger, too young, and standing beside him, her hand on his shoulder, was Meredith, and she was mouthing something. Over and over, asterisk, asterisk, he's not yours to forget. Asterisk, asterisk, I woke up on the floor, bleeding from the nose. The mirror was shattered, every shard pointed inward, my phone dead, my keys missing. Thing left. The tape. I played it again, all the way through this time, but the voice was different now, slower, male, older. This isn't about a boy, this is about a decision, one you made, one you don't want to remember, and then, greater than the others, lied to you. The glitch wasn't in the system, it was in you. That morning I ran. I don't remember driving. I just remember ending up on the edge of an old town I once passed through as a teenager. I found a diner with a payphone and called the only person left. I thought might still answer, Sarah Quinn, but the voice that picked up wasn't hers. Dr. Whitmer. The voice rasped. You said you'd stop. Click dial tone. No record of the number since. I searched for Sarah again. No trace. No sister. No agency file. No birth certificate for Meredith Quinn. Not even a license for a Chase Whitmore. I checked news archives. Nothing on the Whitmore estate. No fire, no boy, no nanny, no mysterious disappearance. Even Aaron's name screamed across the dark turned up blank. No one had existed, except me. I returned to the city a different man. Hollow, UNANCHORED. Friends looked at me sideways, like they weren't sure if they were remembering me correctly. I went back to old files, old drives, trying to prove what I'd seen, only none of it was there. Not the audio, not the video, just static. Until 2 nights ago when I found a photograph, slipped under my door. Me. As a child, holding the hand of a woman whose face had been blacked out. On the back, in the same dried wine ink, greater than you forgot, again. But I remember everything. So here's the part where I'm supposed to wrap this up, where I tie the bow, offer a rational, acceptable end. But the truth is, the ending doesn't belong to me. It belongs to you. Because when I went back and rewatched the first footage, by frame Chase isn't looking at the nanny. When he says her name, he's looking directly at the camera. At you. And if you pause it just right, at exactly 4:19, for one single frame, his reflection changes. He's not a boy, he's not even human. He's you, smiling, and whispering something no mic could catch. But you already know what it was. Because that word, it's been hiding in your mouth since you started watching. And tonight, when you wake up at 3:14 a.m., for no reason, you're going to say it out loud. Aaron, and the silence that follows. That won't be empty. It started with the envelopes. Manila, untitled. No return address. Just a smear of wax. On the flap, like it had been sealed by hand, I found the first one slid under my apartment door the morning after I uploaded my video dissecting the Whitmore tapes. No one had knocked. No footsteps. Just there, waiting. Inside, a single Polaroid of the Whitmore estate at dusk framed by trees no longer standing, shadows falling in a pattern that didn't match the sun. And behind it, scribbled in faint pencil on a torn museum ticket, you were right all along, but it was never just him. That's when I realized I wasn't alone. My inbox started changing. Deleted messages reappeared, rearranged. Subjects altered. Every time I clicked on something, the timestamp shifted by a few seconds. I tried to screen record it and both times the footage corrupted. Then came the dreams, not mine. At first, viewers, thousands of them, commenters leaving scrambled memories beneath my video. I've seen that corridor before. That mirror my grandmother covered ours too. I woke up saying Aaron, and my phone rebooted itself. They weren't trolling. You could feel it in the way they wrote, jagged, rushed, frightened, like they were finally telling someone what they'd been too ashamed to believe, and they were all describing the same things. A room without doors, a man with no eyes, a nursery where the clocks run backward. Then the messages got bolder. Some group was watching. I started receiving coordinates linked to places with no public records. 1. A burned-down home in rural Illinois that had never been listed, yet clearly once had occupants. Photos of the charred walls showed strange symbols etched deep into the stone foundation, geometric patterns, spiraling eyes, and words written in a dialect no linguist could translate. But some symbols matched what appeared in the background of Chase's last known footage. Specifically, behind his bedroom dresser, a carved circle bisected by a single line, like an open mouth about to speak. Another envelope contained a page torn from what looked like a child's workbook. Lines for writing, a childish scrawl filling, each one with the same sentence, again and again. I am not supposed to remember her. And then, at the bottom, just above the tier, but I remember you. I started recognizing people. Not in the streets, not directly, but in the way faces blurred in my dreams. Repeating shapes, patterns. Sometimes, I'd wake up knowing the full name of someone I'd never met. Sometimes, I'd see them in comment threads under unrelated videos. True crime cases, UFO sightings, footage labeled found footage from 20 years ago. They always left one word, wasing they were witnesses. Like me, pulled in, torn open, made to forget, and now remembering in fragments. One of them reached out directly. An email, no greeting. No signature, I know what they did. To Meredith, her name wasn't Meredith. At least, not always. According to the file attached, grainy, poorly scanned, partially redacted, she had lived under 5 separate identities. Moved between states, appeared in foster records, private employment databases. Even a blurred personnel log from an abandoned government research facility labeled Project Silo, Site 12. Each time, she worked with children. Each time, she disappeared. And in every photograph that managed to survive, her expression was the same soft smile, head tilted slightly, as though listening to something behind the camera that no one else could hear. The whistleblower claimed she wasn't sent to help Chase, she was sent to watch him, because Chase wasn't the first, and Meredith wasn't the only one watching. There had been others, dozens, children, across the country, quiet, cold-eyed, unpredictable, parents with wiped digital histories, birth records vanishing after a certain date. One file referenced something called echo trajectory, a term later buried in declassified MK Ultra documents next to a memo about memory transfer trials in early childhood environments. And this is where the third voice enters. She called herself Hannah, but the voice in her voicemails didn't belong to anyone in public records. I received them from a burner number, scattered across 3 days, always cutting out at 33 seconds. In the first one, she whispers, you need to stop looking for her in footage. She's not recorded. She's remembered. In the second, the dreams you're having, they aren't yours, they were given. That's why the mirrors crack. That's why you don't bleed when you're cut there. In the third, you've forgotten your name before. Check the letters, the ones your father left. Asterisk, I never told anyone about the letters. When I was 10, I found a box buried in my family's attic. It contained dozens of envelopes addressed to me, but never mailed. All handwritten, all in my father's exact handwriting. They talked about dreams he couldn't explain. Seeing people in the grocery store who looked like family members but weren't. One letter described waking up in a hospital he didn't remember being admitted to, with a wristband that read, asterisk observation only, subject, O3C. He said, they took him somewhere cold, somewhere underground. But he couldn't describe it without getting sick. He ended the letter with this line, if you're reading this it means you survived, but don't trust the face in the mirror. That one isn't yours? I had forgotten all of it. Until now, they're rewriting us. I don't know who they are not yet. But it's not just about Chase, it never was. He was just a pinhole tear in a larger fabric that's slowly unraveling. These aren't isolated events. These are threads, loops, residual imprints from a larger program that was never shut down. Maybe it started as psychology, maybe as tech, but now, it's become something else, something old, something that doesn't need machines anymore to work. It just needs you to remember it, and once you do, it uses you. That's what the symbol means. The bisected circle. The open mouth, it's not about watching, it's about speaking through. The others who've remembered, some are still functioning, blending in, posting strange phrases across forums, leaving coordinates, hiding sigils inside art exhibits, dollar bills, deepfake clips that don't trigger detection algorithms. They're trying to communicate, to warn, because the moment you begin to remember, it remembers you back. The most recent clip was mailed in a VHS tape inside a children's book. No markings, no label, just footage of a birthday party in someone's backyard, standard 90s aesthetic. Plastic lawn chairs, a clown, a homemade cake. Until the camera pans slightly to fast and catches a man standing behind a tree, wearing a face you recognize, your own. And when the camera glitches back, he's closer. Smiling. Next to him is a little girl, whispering something, and the audio cuts out, except one line, which only plays when you reverse it. Greater than asterisk, we didn't leave you. You left us. Asterisk, you think you're safe behind your screen, but your mouse has moved 3 times since you started reading, and you didn't do that. Look again at the first frame of the chase footage. The mirror in the back. Someone standing there. You just didn't see them before. Now you do. And when you wake up tonight at 3:17, or maybe 3:33, you'll feel that pull, like something inside you remembers. Too much. Don't look in the mirror. Not this time, because this isn't just a story. Asterisk, asterisk, it's a correction. Asterisk, asterisk, and the next memory they take might be the only one that still belongs to you.